Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Rob Gutro is back with us. Coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-hostess, Victoria Mundae. And down in the chat room, Alina moderating the chat. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Our good friend, psychic medium and author and paranormal investigator, Rob Gutro, is back with us for, I think I counted it right, the 14th time. Of all the guests we've had, Rob has joined us the most. So we had to get him back here one more time before we close shop on the rabbit hole. He's going to be talking to us today about his latest book, about the ghosts of the Birdcage Theater. Yes, the very infamous Birdcage Theater there in Tombstone, Arizona. So, Rob, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you both. And thanks for this little hat tribute.
You're supposed to say howdy.
Rob has this super cool hat that he's wearing here. So then Victoria got out her pirate hat and was like, all right, I'll go get my little chintzy fedora thing, and yeah, so we're doing the hats for a little bit.
A little bit. You're gonna have hat hair. No.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can.
Well,
so I'm specifically wearing this hat, and I specifically grew this mustache as my Wyatt Earp mustache because of Tombstone, Arizona.
Right, to honor and celebrate the book. So let's pop that up here.
Yeah,
it's a great book.
Yeah. Victoria has a copy. Okay, there's the book cover.
Yeah.
So it's
that is, Rob. You said that was you in 1994.
Theater on a medium's vacation. So it's the second in my medium's vacation series.
I enjoyed it. I read it and it was great.
Right, because the first one was when you went to England.
Yeah, 1994. I think I'm having some audio difficulty.
Okay. A little bit of a delay. Uh-oh. Can you hear us, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure. All right. So tell us about the new book. This was your vacation from 1994. This is a younger Rob Gutro here.
Oh, he can't hear you.
Can you hear Victoria?
Hey, Rob. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Stop.
Can you hear us now? Uh-oh.
It's the ghost.
It's the ghost. The ghost in the machine. And everything was fine before we went live, too.
Yeah.
We were talking with him just fine.
Maybe it's the hat.
Okay, now I can hear you. So I will I will take the hat off.
All right. So,
all right.
Maybe the hats were
going topless. No.
So thanks for showing the cover to that. So there's a story behind there. And that was me in 1994. After I saw the movie Tombstone in 1993 with Wyatt Earp and Val Kilmer, I became fascinated with Wyatt Earp. So I decided that I would go to Tombstone and I would investigate. I would try to figure out what happened there and so forth. I was really drawn to Tombstone, and as it turned out, I had a past life experience when I was there.
Oh, so wow. What happened?
That
yeah.
Well, before I get to that, I just want to preface that by saying that I became so enamored with Wyatt Earp as a character that I wound up within a decade traveling to different parts of the country, researching him to write a book about him. But there were so many books written about him that I decided to shelve that idea, if you will. And I didn't think I would ever use the photographs and stuff from Tombstone, but ghosts had a different idea. So
yes, they do.
They're in the book.
They're in the book. Yeah. So why, so many years later, 1994 to 2022 we're in now. So you do the math. It's been a while.
Don't do the math. Don't do the math.
Because 1994, I was 2 years out of high school. So,
Ouch. Okay.
I'm not saying. Hello. Going through a tunnel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are very good reasons. So back in the 90s, my abilities were dormant. Even though I saw my grandfather back when I was like 13 years old, way back in the 70s, my abilities went dormant. So when I visited in 1994, I didn't pick up on anything. When I went back in 2019, I decided to visit my friend Dan out in Phoenix, and I told him that I really wanted to go back to the birdcage because I had befriended the guy that manages it, Billy, and his wife, Amy, and I wanted to see it. Plus, they just instituted ghost tours of the birdcage. So thanks. That's a picture of me and Billy in 1994 with one of the ladies of the evening, as you will, that worked there at the bar. It's now a museum. And when I went, by the way, in 1994, I went with a friend of mine named John, and we decided that the best way to see Tombstone was to dress up as Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. So I was Wyatt Earp, he was Doc Holliday, and that made it so much more memorable and so much fun. And Victoria, I think the picture of us is in that book. It is in the book. You remember the picture in there of me and my friend John?
There's a couple.
We took it in front of the Tombstone Epitaph, the newspaper.
Yes. That one.
Yeah, there it is.
Nice.
So that's John and I in 1994 as Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. Very, very memorable trip. And what was funny about that trip too, Mike, is that tourists thought that we were working at in the town, and they came up and they
thought you were reenactors.
Right. They reenact the shit out of the OK Corral all the time, every day. So we got our pictures taken with a whole bunch of people, but
that's great.
So as soon as we got to the town, as soon as we get to the town, and I had never been to the town. We didn't have a map or anything. We just parked our car at the end of Allen Street, which is the main street, and we started walking. And that's when I had my past life experience. It was really freaky. We had walked probably a quarter of the way through the town, and somebody stopped and asked me directions, of course, thinking that I worked there, as a reenactor. And they said, "Where's the courthouse?" And I told them exactly what streets to go down to get to the courthouse. And my friend John looked at me and he said, "How the hell do you know where the courthouse is?" And I said, I don't. It just came to me, and I just gave him directions. And he said, I hope he didn't give that guy bum directions. Well, we followed my directions, and there was the courthouse.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And
so this is why you have such a big draw to Tombstone, because you've had a past life there.
Yeah, and the courthouse isn't easy to find, if I remember correctly, because you have the main street, and then it's like off a couple blocks and over one and down one. So I was impressed when I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of freaky. So about a couple of years ago, Mike, I did a past life experience, like a regression thing. We were in a yoga studio, and then there was a kind of a past life regression exercise. So we did that. And I wasn't thinking of anything. I had not done that before. Sure enough, I was in Tombstone, and I could see myself in a cabin, and I had dirty boots on, and there was a hound dog in the cabin. And I distinctly remember how I was dressed. And I knew that it was Tombstone. And I thought, wow, that confirms everything for me. So
Okay, I have a question
fantastic.
for you, if I may. I've done a few past life regressions, and it seems like a lot of mine are centered around the medieval period. I do all the Renaissance stuff too. So if you had one that's specifically Tombstone, do you think you might have had some others in that time period also? Or do you have one that's just Tombstone? Or maybe you were like in San Francisco also? Anywhere in the Old West?
I don't know, because it was only, it was only there. I'm sure that, Tombstone was founded in 1879. So most likely when I lived there, I came from somewhere else.
Okay. So you don't remember other lives?
The story behind the founding of Tombstone was that Ed Shiflin, who was a miner. I don't. No.
Okay.
I need to go through another past life regression, I think.
Those are fun.
So, Mike, have you ever had a past life regression?
I have. I had one last year. It was very fascinating, and it was a medieval sort of scenario. So, but conversation is about you, Rob. We can talk about my past life regression another time. So tell us about what's going on. Oh yeah, they certainly are. But what's going on with the birdcage?
So, the birdcage was built after the town was founded, of course. The town was founded in 1879 when Ed Shiflin found a silver mine, a silver strike, in the desert, basically. And he was told by the nearby soldiers in Fort Huakawa that he would only find his tombstone. So when he made the silver strike, he named the town Tombstone, and everything was built around it. And the Birdcage Theater was one of the buildings that was created, and it's one of the only structures that still stand, because Tombstone had a fire and a lot of the original structures had burned down. But the Birdcage survived, and it's still as it was back then. I think it opened in 1880, 1881. So
yeah, I grabbed a couple of photos here from different time periods, and you can see it's pretty much remained the same.
Well, I think that was because it was like one of the only brick buildings and everything else was wood. So when the fire came through, it kind of didn't destroy that one because of the bricks.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So that became really the hub for activity back in the 1880s. And by the way, in 1889, all the silver mines flooded, and the town basically, if you will, dried up. No pun intended.
Oh, geez.
Because the
dried up because of a flood
anymore.
Yeah. Desert life.
That's irony for you right there. So, I mean, it's the town was still, there were still people that lived there, but there were very few after that, after 1889. But in its heyday, from 1881 to 1889, it was a tremendous theater for live performances. Of course, there are other things that went on there. It was also kind of a house of prostitution, and there was a lot of gambling. Down in the basement, there was a big gambling area. That's a good look of the first floor right there. Mm-hmm. And that's
back here.
Yeah. Right there, you're looking at the first floor, where it's now a museum, of course. So there's all kinds of display cases and so forth of different things from the period. That area there on the first floor used to be filled with seats that would face the big curtain. And if you remember the movie Tombstone, up in the boxes, that's where Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday were pictured in the movie, looking to the stage. So, but in that particular room,
and that's the stage,
I'll be talking about that in a little bit. So that's one of the curtains.
It's one of the original
Yeah,
ones.
that's the stage, and that's one of the original curtains.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, the fact that they still have that's amazing.
Yeah, I was telling Rob earlier, I went with my family like right around 2000, and nothing had been really restored at that time. They were like, $2, you can go in. Don't, watch where you're walking. And it was just stuff everywhere. It's like they opened the door and it was 1880 and you can come on in. It was just amazing. They hadn't tried to preserve it. They haven't decorated it or anything. And, the Black Mariah that's upstairs or up on the stage, do you think that has anything to do with the hauntings? Because that was like $1 million hearse back in its time, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't sense if anybody was attached to that, but it very well could be. I mean, there's certainly this. So there's so much residual energy in that building that sometimes it's hard to weed out what's residual and what's intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is that there were 26 people murdered in that building.
Oh. Wow.
26.
Yikes.
Yeah, there are over 144 bullet holes in the walls and the ceiling.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
So if you saw the movie Tombstone, when they were inside the Birdcage Theater and they were doing a production, some of the cowboys would shoot the ceiling whenever they either liked a performance or that, and that's true. A lot of that stuff is true. The people who wrote the script for the movie Tombstone really outdid themselves because they really did a lot of research. Because I wanted to find out if that was true, and I think about 90% of the movie was true.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fantastic. Usually Hollywood has they're pretty lenient with their storylines most of the time, so that's great that they stayed pretty true to the story.
Yeah, I think the only thing they took liberties with is that they don't know who killed Johnny Ringo, and that because in the movie Doc Holliday did, but and it's not a spoiler. It came out in '93.
Wait a minute.
And they also took liberties with the Doc Holliday, Johnny Ringo flipping of the cup thing. It was about a handkerchief instead, I believe. So yeah, and that wasn't as dramatic as flipping a cup. But otherwise, if you want some historic perspective of the Birdcage and Tombstone at the time, Tombstone the movie is one to watch. Big inspiration. So anyway, so now it's a museum, and they still have the daytime tours. Victoria, they have someone that walks around with you. You can go in by yourself. They have someone also that walks around with you.
Oh, they just said go. They let us go. There was no tour guide.
Yeah, so the ghost tours now that they have established, and I can't remember how when they established them, but they do have somebody with you because you're there 3 hours, and they turn the lights off.
Yeah, it's pretty dark in there anyway. So that would be cool.
Yeah, so one of the pictures I sent you, Mike, was a picture from backstage at the end of the ghost tour. The last hour that you're there, they sit you at tables behind the big curtain that you just showed. That's it.
Oh.
Yeah, so they sit you at tables. So there are a whole bunch of tables, and they're organized in like a rectangle. So that's just one of like 3 tables.
Okay.
And then
that's on the other side. You kind of see it pulled back there. That's done the other side of the curtain there.
Yeah, it's backstage.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the man behind the curtain right there.
Yeah.
Speak. Or the men behind the curtain. And we had talked about residual energy earlier, and I will tell you that while I was sitting there, everybody was sitting there. I think there were maybe 20 people, something like that, and everybody was, no pun intended, dead quiet. But you could hear men on the other side of the curtain talking and gambling.
Oh, wow.
It was clear as day to me and my friend Dan. So So I should tell you that in 2019, when we went, my friend Dan has never had a paranormal experience. He doesn't know anything about the paranormal. He never cared about it. He was just like, okay, I'll go. It sounds kind of cool. You know, maybe I'll see a ghost. And he was joking, but then he saw it.
Oh, did he?
That's how they start.
Yep, it is.
He saw it too, and he was pretty freaked
So
out.
now he's convinced, huh?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I had him edit the book too to make sure, because two of the experiences within the book are his experiences.
Oh, okay.
So there are a number of ghosts that I ran into that in total, I will tell you that out of the 26 people that were murdered in there, I ran into 11 different ghosts.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, and you know what? Because I've been there a couple of times before. I was there in '94, and I was there again in '97. And both times I did them my abilities, but I didn't expect to really, interact with anything. But you know me, wherever I go, I keep a journal, and I take a journal with me. So I write everything down, and that's how I'm able to put these books together. And then I sketch them out. And I think you have a couple of sketches.
Yeah. You sent me a sketch here. We'll put that up on the screen here.
Ooh.
So that is one of the ghosts that Dan saw.
Oh, okay.
You just show the tables set up behind the curtain,
right
behind the stage, and to the right side of the stage is the doorway. To the right side of that, far right side of that picture, is the doorway, and so Dan and I were sitting together, on the right hand side of on the right hand side there, and we were looking toward the left. Well,
okay.
There's a doorway on the far right side that's out of the picture, and Dan said to me, "Did you see that guy?" And I looked up and I briefly saw a man in a cowboy hat. That guy right there, and so he said there was one man in the entire ghost tour with a cowboy hat, and he said, but that guy is sitting down. I thought it was that guy that got up to go to the bathroom or something, because they have an emergency light from the front of the stage, so it's very dim. But no, it was not that guy, and there was nobody else in the entire place with a cowboy hat. This was the guy that was standing in the doorway. He looked at Dan and he turned around and he walked out the other way.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And
any idea which one this may have been?
Which what?
Any idea which particular person this would have been?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Because he turned around and walked away.
Okay, I have two questions. Did he have legs when Dan saw him?
No.
Okay, because that's the exact spot. I was telling you, I smelled the lady's perfume. That's the spot, and that's the door. The one you showed the picture. That's where she was going, and I just had the feeling like she was a stage manager type, because she was busy backstage getting everybody ready. So
okay, that would make sense. Mike, can you show that picture again of the curtain, of the Tombstone Curtain?
Yeah. I'll bring that back up here.
That's the other side of what we were looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the far left, you can see the doorway there.
Okay.
You go straight up the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah, straight up the stairs. That's
straight
where
up the stairs, and there's the door.
Yeah, that's where that guy with the cowboy hat was standing.
So he would have been standing there. Okay.
Yeah, he turned around and he walked down the stairs. Look at you, Mike. You are just a whiz with that stuff.
I'm trying.
So, yeah, so I can't tell you the words that Dan said because they're not suitable for television, but he was pretty freaked out.
It was an expletive.
Yeah, he was pretty freaked out. He goes, unbelievable. So the other ghost that he saw was a face in a mirror, and that's in the book. I didn't send you that picture, but I'll leave it for people to go look for it.
Yeah. People need they need something to go buy the book for. So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting stories too. I mean, just the history really of the Birdcage Theater itself is fascinating, because it's preserved really like it was in the 1880s, and you just really won't find that in many places,
especially down in the poker room. I mean, it's well, when I was there, when I visited the couple of times, it was.
Well, it looks like they still have money on the table.
Yeah, and there's just dust, so no one's touching it because it's just dust everywhere, and it's like that's where we had a lot of experiences too. In your book, can I ask you something about in the book?
Sure.
You were talking about going down that staircase, coming from backstage, going down to the poker room. You kind of stumbled and fell. It's because you ran into somebody. Now I've had that happen to me several times, but the only thing I can equate it to is like running really fast and hitting a bouncy house and going back. Is that the same kind of feeling you had?
No, I was shot in the chest.
Okay, so you just went back. Okay.
Yeah, and I drew a picture of how I felt, and the image that the guy gave me being shot against the wall. And I was one of the last ones down, so I think I was actually the last one down. And the docent who was there, leading the tour, she turned around and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I was just shot in the chest." And she said, "What?" And I said, "It's a ghost who was shot here in the chest." And she said, "There was a man who was shot right there in the chest against that wall."
Wow.
Yeah. So what's really freaky about
how you channeled that. Wow.
These experiences is that every single ghost that I encountered was confirmed by the tour guide. She said one way or another, somebody had run into those different ghosts at different times. But historically, they also looked up these things. So that really kind of freaked me out. By the way, the poker game area that you showed earlier was known for the longest poker game in history.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it was supposedly played 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it was for 8 years, 5 months, and a couple of days. And that ended in, of course, 1889 when everything flooded. But
that's a long time to have to hold a bathroom break.
I'm pretty sure they, tip their chairs like that when you have to leave. Now, I wanted to ask you about that because, I've played a poker game or two. I was number 4 in Arizona for a while. But you didn't hear that from me. And there's a lot of emotion and a lot of energy when you play poker, at least when I do. And if that game went on for 8 years, like they said, because when you go downstairs, man, it feels totally different. I mean, I've seen things, how the doors where the rooms are, they have like a panel broken out and you can peek your head in. I've seen things in there when I looked in there, and you can just feel the energy that's downstairs. Do you think that helped fuel any residual haunting that's down there, or is it just crazy old birdcage energy?
No, I totally agree that there was a lot of residual energy generated in there, and I think the whole basement is really soaked with residual energy. That there were, of course, there are a lot of people, the guys that lost and had a lot of anger that they impressed.
Yeah.
In the walls and so forth, and then the guys that were murdered down there for accused of cheating, that's in there too. So it's like going into a swimming pool, really, when you go down there. So so across from that area, Mike, is there are I think there are 4 rooms, and they're called the cribs, where the soil doves or ladies of the evening would go to do their business. And there have been reports that some people have seen ghosts of some of the women in there. Is that what you saw, Victoria?
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, because first of all, I found your book really, really fascinating, how you connected with everyone, and a lot of people, how you connected, and they showed you how they died. And is that something that's normal for you? That was my first question. And when I was down there, the only 2 men I saw, I saw women everywhere I went, but the only 2 men I saw had just, that's a nice way of saying it, had just finished, and they were getting dressed. So when I stuck my head in that whatever. I've been spending a lot of time in haunted brothels. So I'm thinking that might be my future there. That's where I turn around. No, I think that's my next career. It's, if I don't find a job. Anyway, I could do the ghost tours. Anyway, when I put my head in there, the lady was in the white, like a cami and bloomer type outfit. And the man was in long johns, and he was putting his pants on. He had his boots on already. Maybe he didn't take them off. I don't know. But upstairs, when you first walk in, there's that big picture that has the bullet hole in it. And then there's a staircase that comes down, and it turns and it comes down again. I saw a man walking down, and he was tucking his shirt in, and then he disappeared. So I'm assuming he completed his mission there. But I connected more with a woman. Do you ever find that certain people will connect with just one gender or one sex or one type of person, or I don't know. Is it just International Women's Day, I guess? Or
well, that's true. It is today. So big shout out to all the women out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I really never thought about that. I just think that I've always felt that any ghost that can sense a medium usually just wants to tell them their story, whether it's man or woman or child or whatever. But again, I think, as we discussed before, it all depends on their personalities. So if men were intimidated by talking to a woman, they would be hesitant to do that as a ghost. And vice versa.
Or if they didn't see them as worthy of talking to, I guess.
So maybe, so maybe women would be more open and more inclined to talk to a living woman who is a medium, because they would they would be more sympathetic, certainly, especially to women in the 1880s who, where prostitution was a profession. And that a lot of women who grew up in poor homes wound up doing that. I think there was a boarding house around the corner from the birdcage.
Didn't Wyatt Earp's girlfriend own that?
They called it a boarding house, but
it was one of the guys. I thought it was Doc Holliday. It was Doc Holliday's girlfriend.
Big Nose Kate, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Big Nose Kate. She was she was Hungarian too, and he left her behind in Tombstone.
We Hungarians don't have that big a nose.
Yep.
Come on.
I'm German. I'm not turning my head. So.
Well, it's on my mom's side, but
her nickname was.
Let me ask you about the women there, because.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the women there, because you hear stories of people that go to visit there, and the men say that they will get touched by the working women. So, in Victoria just told a story where she saw a guy finishing with the woman. So, I guess my question is more of it sounds like what Victoria would have seen was more of a residual haunt, but people who are being touched by a woman who is trying to solicit them for, hey, I'm working here. It sounds like that's more of an intelligent haunt. So is it a mix there? Do these women think that they're still working and they're trying to get a client from the living?
Well, my feeling is that there is a mix. There's certainly a lot of residual energy that we talked about during down in the basement. But there's residual energy upstairs too, where I heard the crowd on the other side of the curtain. But for those women who worked there that decided to stay behind as earthbound ghosts, I think they want people to know that they're there and that they chose to stay there. So that's why they will touch somebody. Some of them did not get to tell me their whole story or a lot or their story at all. They just wanted me to know that they were there. I think that some of them were afraid to cross over because of their profession, if you will. So that's why they stayed behind.
So they're afraid of some sort of judgment or something happening if they were to cross over. And yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you discussed about a woman that you saw in Bisbee, and that's why she didn't cross over. So, I mean, that was an eye opener. I'd never even thought about that before.
Yeah, so I had a chapter about the Copper Queen Hotel. I added that in the end of the book, even though it's not the birdcage. So I went to Bisbee, which is another mining town, and Bisbee became known as a copper mining town, very famous for copper mines. As a matter of fact, they give you there's a tour you can actually take into an old copper mine, and my friend Dan and I took it. Yeah, they take you all the way down. And they
show you walk. Wait, are you walking down this or?
No, it's on
okay.
It's on a kind of a ride. You sit in old mining cars, and they take you down.
So it's like a Donkey Kong ride.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It's fascinating, and I have to tell you, it's really scary because if you're claustrophobic, you don't want to do it.
Did you get the little mining hat with the?
They do, yeah. Everybody gets a hat. You get a hard hat with a mining light on it, and and you're instructed to stay in the cart and keep your hands in the cart because the tunnels are actually very small. They're very narrow until they get to certain areas where they started breaking into like a copper vein, if you will, and then they start. Then it becomes a big area.
Cool.
So it's really fascinating. But so that's the town of Bisbee is a really quaint town. It's kind of an artsy town. It's really close to Tombstone. I think it's about a 10-minute drive or something like that. And the Copper Queen Hotel is a very famous hotel in that area. And as it turns out, Mike, you would find this really cool because they have a book in the lobby for people who have ghost experiences.
All right, very cool.
Everybody that has a ghost experience writes their story in that book.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they have a nice large book of experiences.
It's pretty big, yeah. I didn't get to flip through it, but that just gives you an indication that there's a lot of dead people that stayed behind.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but yeah.
It's a nice part of town, it's got the mountains there, close to Mexico.
Yeah, and like I said, it's very artsy too. So there's a lot of artisans that live there.
Nice.
A lot of antiques and history and cool stuff.
And there's a comic book shop. I found that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I was that. But I didn't expect to find run into this woman in the hallway that I ran into, and yeah, she told me that she was afraid to cross over because of religious reasons. And I have found that many times before with different people that have decided to stay behind as ghosts.
Is there anything that you can try to tell them about the other side to maybe reassure them that they're not going to burn?
Yeah, I actually do. I tell them that the other side is nothing but love and acceptance and peace. And that hell is really staying behind Earthbound as a ghost for eternity, not being able to talk to anybody. That's my idea of hell. So that's usually how I get people to cross over. So I was so, and this woman, by the way, made me actually fall to my knee in the hallway.
Oh wow!
She was sharing some pain with me, and and I was walking next to Dan, and he looks at me and goes, "What in the world is wrong with you?" So I said, "It's a ghost. They're sharing their pain." She made me fall, and and poor Dan, he's like, I have no idea what the hell is going on here. But he learned a lot about the paranormal. I'll tell you that within one day, because he met quite a few dead people.
That's my new excuse. Oh, it's a ghost. I fell down.
There you go.
It's a cat.
Blame it on a ghost. Nice.
Yeah. Can I ask you one quick question about
your
Tombstone?
ghost.
It is not my ghost. My ghost is over there. Were you in Tombstone after dark?
Sure. Yeah. So the ghost tour actually took place after sunset.
Okay.
And,
did you ever get a feeling like the buildings were watching you? It's just the creepiest feeling.
It is kind of a creepy feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't get that feeling, but when we were walking back to our vehicle, a dead guy walked right through me.
Oh,
that's also in the book. And when ghosts walk through me, they take all the heat energy out of my body, because they're trying to absorb energy so that they can manifest. And I got totally chilled, and I felt suddenly very weak, but I felt him walk right through me, and that was just really freaky. There's another part that was freaky about Tombstone. I didn't put this in the book, but we got back to Dan's truck after the ghost tour. It was like 11 o'clock at night. His brand new truck, the battery was dead.
Oh no!
Oh wow!
What the?
How does that happen?
So, yeah, and you guys know ghost drain batteries. So,
oh yeah,
he's looking at me like, "What the hell? This doesn't make any sense." So it was 11 o'clock at night. So I called AAA, and they said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Tombstone." And they said, "Well, we would have to send a truck from Tucson. Tucson is 40 miles plus to the north."
Yeah.
They said it could be there in about 2 hours because we were backed up. I'm like, it's 11 o'clock at night, man. No, there was nothing in Bisbee. So we just looked at each other like, okay, what do we do? So we walked back into the town. We went into a convenience store. We asked where the sheriff's office was, and fortunately, there was one convenience store that was open. And the kid that was working there told us where it was. So we walked to the sheriff's office and we knocked on the door. The doors are all locked, by the way, in Tombstone. So and this police officer opened the door. He must have been like 6'8". He was huge. And I'm a little guy. I'm like 5'6". and he's just looking down at me. He's like, "What's wrong?" And I told him our vehicle died, and I wasn't about to say I could have been a ghost that sapped it, but
right.
So he said, "Where are you parked?" So I told him we were like 2 blocks down and to the left. And I said, "Should we wait for you and go with you to show you where the truck is?" And he said, "No, just go walk over there now." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yes, sir.
It was a little, it was 11 o'clock at night. It was intimidating. Yeah. He was like a giant. So he met us over there. He actually jumped the battery, and he said, "Look, there's a Walmart that's open. It's 30 miles away." And he said, "That's the only place that's open this time of night. That's the best place to get a battery." He said, "Otherwise, go to your hotel and just park the car, and you'll have to get jumped again tomorrow." So we drove the 30 miles, kept the vehicle running. Dan went in and got a battery, turned it off. Finally, we had to make sure he got the battery before he turned the truck off. And he changed the battery right there in the parking lot, and we were good to go. And I'm like, okay, we are not going back through Tombstone. We're gonna go around, and we're gonna go to a hotel.
Nice.
So that was an adventure. Yeah. We didn't get back to the hotel till about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. It was like, oh my! And that was after meeting 11 dead people in the birdcage and being there 3 hours. So
wow.
That's a long
quite
day.
the end of,
You were drained.
of an amazing adventure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so long.
So I'm ready for the second book of
Drained.
I'm ready for your second book on Tombstone. I love Tombstone. It's one of my favorite places,
Well, I'm going to extend an offer to you both because Billy and Amy have set up a big event for me on the week of Memorial Day weekend, which are also Wyatt Earp days in Tombstone. I am flying out there for 3 days to do a lecture and a book signing at the Birdcage Theater.
Oh, what fun.
In Tombstone.
Oh, I love the Birdcage. Mike, you got to go.
It'd be cool.
How is it
I don't know
open
if
to
I'll
these
still have
places?
this.
You got to keep the mustache.
I'll have mine grown out by then.
I don't know.
That would be fun if you kept the part, because because Rob, this is a great look. I mean, you look like you belong there.
Yeah, he did.
Because you got the mustache going on there too.
Yeah, I did.
And it's a swagger. It's a swagger that you developed there too. So it's cool.
Yeah, but put the hat back on, because with the hat you look like you belong.
And I like playing with the mustache, So
do you?
Yeah,
it's really good when you're doing poker because you can do this.
Go. Perfect. Yeah, you should at least keep it for that event.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll keep it. It's only a couple months away anyway, so
yeah,
I could do
that.
Yeah.
So there you go, everybody. You want a signed book from Rob of the Birdcage Theater at the Birdcage Theater. Go to Tombstone. So you said it was Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, the 29th and 30th, which is a Saturday, Sunday. I fly in on Saturday the 29th. Or the 28th. I can't remember, whatever that Saturday is.
28th.
But yeah, thank you. So I'll be there. And it'll be really cool. And afterward, by the way, the Birdcage Theater has ghost tours still every single night, 7 nights a week. So you can sign up for them. They don't book them that far in advance right now, but they're still going on 7 nights a week. And I got to tell you, if you want the best ghost tour ever, that is a place to go. That and the old Mineral Springs Hotel, right?
Yeah. Mineral Springs is awesome. Yeah. So, but Birdcage. I was really disappointed in myself that I couldn't make that stop. I really wanted to, because just driving right by the exit, there's Tombstone, but I had to I had to.
I know.
I had to fly that night. So. Oh well.
Yeah. When we were in Arizona, we were in Scottsdale and we were going to go up to Sedona, but Sedona's streets are so thin, I couldn't make a U-turn. So next thing I knew, I was in Flagstaff. I'm like, well, what the hell? I might as well go to the Grand Canyon. So I'm up at the Grand Canyon. Just keep on going. It's like, when am I going to be over here again? So I saw the Painted Desert. It was a long way. Painted Desert, crater. It was great. You just keep going.
We got about 8 minutes left in the show, and we have a couple of questions here from our chatters. So
sure,
I want to get a couple of these in real quick. This is actually from Alina, our chat moderator. She says, do spirits make you feel extremely cold when they pass through you? Which you kind of answered that earlier. I get weird deep chills for no known reason sometimes.
Yeah, they do. So because ghosts are earthbound and spirits have crossed over. That's the way I define them. because they're energy, they need energy to get strong enough to manifest, and they can do that by absorbing your body heat and making you feel cold and giving you chills. They also do that by absorbing the motion of air molecules, and by absorbing that motion, they slow them down. And slow moving molecules of air are cool air. Fast moving molecules of air are warm air, and that's why you can feel cold spots. And there are a lot of cold spots in the birdcage theater.
Awesome. There are, now that you mention it. Yeah, I always wanted to be in a haunted apartment when we were in Arizona, because I thought, it'd help with the air conditioning. But no such luck,
Well, it sounds like it wipes Rob out too.
It does. It's really an emotional thing. Yeah. Actually, Mike, I was one of the things that I'm going to be doing in, I think it's in early May, is that I was invited to the Hoover House in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. It's a haunted bed and breakfast. They asked me to stay there overnight, and I said no.
Why not?
Not for an overnight, huh?
No. I've had enough ghosts wake me up at night. No.
Yeah.
Let me ask you real quick about Jerome, I think was his name, that you met him twice.
Yes.
Is that something normal where they show you their death? Or is that just a Jerome thing? Okay.
No, that's pretty normal. And actually, Victoria, pets do the same thing to me. They convey how they died. And you'd be surprised how many people write to me and say, I don't know how my pet died. So I get into that too. And I have solved quite a number of mysteries that way. But yeah, so that's a chapter that everybody would probably want to read, because Jerome, that's his name, that's what he told me. He got shot in the throat, and I couldn't speak when I met Jerome because I felt blood gushing out of my throat, and I tasted it. And when I came back the next day, he did it again.
Oof.
You couldn't just say, I remember you. I was here yesterday.
Guess you really wanted to share that.
I couldn't speak. It took like 2-3 minutes for me to get to finally speak. Yeah. That's so there's a sketch of him that I made in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys want to see the sketch? Check out the book.
So
we have a question here. Yeah, we have a question here from Sarah Youssef. Do you find that your reenactment stirred up activity even more? Sometimes place memories can be triggered.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I was not dressed as Wyatt Earp when I visited for the ghost tour. So I was just wearing my Superman t-shirt, I think. So they wouldn't even know what that was.
Same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good point, is that reenacting likely does trigger more activity, because they think that you're someone from their time period that they can associate with. I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah.
And of course, when I dressed up as Wyatt Earp in '94 and went there, my abilities really they were dormant. So if somebody's trying to talk to me then, I wasn't paying attention.
Gotcha.
But by the way,
maybe when you go back with the mustache and the hat you have now and everything, maybe it will.
Okay. Yeah, I had to get some boots
spurs,
because I don't have any boots. I took those black boots and I painted them green for my Green Lantern costume for the Comic-Con.
I've seen the Green Lantern costume. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because we went out to a haunted brothel. That's what we have out here, and we were dressed up in period costumes. Well, my garb, and we had a lot of activity, and I think a lot of that was triggered because it was a familiar sight, I guess you could say, or some familiarity with being dressed up.
Yeah, somebody they could definitely relate to. It's easier to talk to somebody that you think that has the same things in common that you do. Either if you dress the same or you have the same, philosophies or something like that. So that would make perfect sense. Yeah.
Or it's same birthday.
Same birth date.
Yeah.
That's
in his book.
that was another ghost that showed up.
I wasn't going to tell about that one. The lady with the same birthday.
Of one of the living people that she was, and that's something weird that the ghost had told me. It was amazing to learn the history of these different people that were haunting the Birdcage Theater, and I would say about half of them died there. There are a couple that did not die there, but yet they chose to haunt the Birdcage for one reason or another, and I don't know what they are. Maybe I'll find out when I go back this May.
Because it was fun?
It was the place to be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where everybody else is. So
I'm dying.
We have about 5 minutes left in the show, Rob. So just want to kind of real quickly get to kind of want to real quickly get to some of the other things that you have going on, upcoming projects, Pets in the Afterlife 4, anything you want to talk about.
Oh gosh. So Pets in the Afterlife 4 is the next book. And that's going to be about messages from spirit cats, because I just said messages from spirit dogs. And I don't know if I've been on since the Messages from Spirit Dogs book won an award from the Book Authority, which I'm totally shocked
Fantastic.
by. Yeah, they ranked it
Congratulations.
one of the 21 best or 18 best books on grief in 2021.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I didn't even expect it. And what's even more interesting to me is that it's the only book about pet grief and pet loss. All the other ones about human losses. So, I don't know how they found out about me, but I'm very grateful to them.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, it's very humbling. I'm like, what? I'm just a little guy over here trying to help people.
No, there's not really a lot of books. Yeah, there's not a lot of books on pet grieving and pet loss. When I worked in a bookstore, people would ask, I'm like, well, we have general grieving, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm still doing pet readings for people who lost pets.
Good.
Sometimes people have asked me about doing readings for people, and people they have too many hangups, people. So I'd much rather deal with pets. They're much more about love and so forth. I did wind up doing one reading for a person. And the guy turned out to be an abusive father who was an alcoholic who passed away. And it's hard to convey these things in a message, but I did. And the person confirmed everything that I got. So that's why I said, you know what, just pets. So that's good. But people can find out. That's Billy. That's Billy who manages the Birdcage Theater right there.
Oh, great!
I love the Birdcage, Billy.
So Billy, who's in the photo with you back here?
Yes, that's Billy right there.
That's awesome.
So everybody needs to go to the Birdcage and say, "Hey, Billy."
It's one of the greatest places. That and the courthouse. Yeah, because they still have the gallows.
The Birdcage Theater is probably my favorite. Yes. Yeah. The courthouse does have the gallows.
But the Birdcage is awesome. I mean, there's so much activity that went on
there. But if anybody wants to. But the best place to go really in all of Tombstone, I know, they have the OK Corral rebuilt and the staging area and all that, but and the courthouse is also an original building, but the Birdcage is likely the most haunted place, and it's rich in history. The minute you go in there, you'll learn all about the 1880s. So everybody needs to go. And Wyatt Earp Days, May 28th, 29th, 30th.
There you go. And Billy is telling you to keep the mustache, so you have to at least keep it for that.
So,
all right. Well,
so when Mike shows up for White Earp Days, should he be in garb and costume, like one of the Clantons?
I've got that duster.
Yes, you
that
do.
Long trench coat. Yeah, that would be appropriate. I would just have to get the right hat, and I guess the boots.
Perfect.
I can hook you up with the boot makers, so I know those people.
So,
well, I really appreciate.
All right. Well, we are
at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're at our hour mark, so we do have to wrap it up. And Rob, it's always great to have you on. And I wanted to make sure we got you in one last time before we, close up the rabbit hole. And it just the timing with your book coming out was just phenomenal. So again, everybody, please go grab Rob's book. Here it is one more time: Ghosts of the Birdcage Theater on a Medium's Vacation. So and website is robgutro.com.
Thank you. And I'm proud to say that it actually hit #1 in U.S. Western travel guides for a day. So
that's
so
fantastic.
I wanted to tip my hat to you both and say thank you again for all the wonderful shows that we've had together. I mean, I can't thank you enough. You guys are like family to me. So thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. And Victoria and I have talked about doing an occasional pop-up show, something special going on, and just come back kind of, here or there. So, when Pets in the Afterlife 4 comes out, we'll have to do one of those little pop-up shows. So
that'd be great. The cat lady's right there in the corner.
Oh, good Lord.
There you go.
We should just go to Rob's house. You got a book out? Let's talk,
There you go.
To Alexandra's house. You got a book out?
We'll do it.
Okay.
So, all right, Rob, you have a great night. Take care.
You too. Thank you both. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, Rob Gutro. Yeah, always like having Rob on. That is like the 14th time that we've had him on.
This is really an amazing book too. I love it.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good reading old stories again. I'm like, oh, that happened to me too. Okay. Yeah. The validation's good.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that you're reading his stories in that book and you've experienced the same things.
Yeah, but I was there first. I don't want to say that, but I was there first.
When were you there?
2000, 2001.
Yeah, he was there in 94. I think he was there first.
He wrote the book in 19. He didn't have his
right. He didn't have his superpowers.
It's an awesome place, no matter if you have powers or not.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. So, next time I'm through that area, I'm definitely going to make a point to stop through. So, but yeah, when I was driving through there, it was like already 8:00 at night.
Yeah,
and I had to make it up to Phoenix that night. So,
it's a straight shot. Just go past Gila Bend and Casa Grande, whatever that is up there. Yeah, Pikachu Mountain. There's something up there.
Pikachu Mountain. Nice.
Well, it's something like Pikachu Mountain, but it's something else. But it looks like, never mind. It looks like Pikachu Mountain.
Very cool. All right. So we'll get to the shout outs here just a second. So Brandon Elvis, paranormal investigator who's on the A&E version of Ghost Hunters, is going to be our guest next week. So just 2 more guests. And Brandon will be the second to last guest.
Uh-oh. And then
it's Kimberly McGeorge.
And then
and then our goodbye episode.
And then Taco Tuesday.
And then we're off for a long time.
Taco Tuesday every night.
Taco Tuesday. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So now Tuesdays will probably be a big preparing for the Connected Universe Portal episodes, or Connecting the Universe interactive classes. So that's tomorrow night, Wednesday, 8:00 p.m. for those that are members of the Connected Universe Portal. And we've had some new signups lately, so new people are joining. Fantastic to have them in there. Really appreciate it. Some good conversations. This coming week, or tomorrow, I should say, is Inside Shadow Manifestations. So since the whole Ancient Aliens thing, last week we did Shadow Dimension, so we got kind of specifically into other dimensions and and that sort of thing, because we actually broke down the 11 different dimensions, and what the shadow dimension would be in relation to all that. I've had a lot of questions and feedback and comments about shadows since the Ancient Aliens episode last Friday. So it's like, okay, fine. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about all these. So that's going to be tomorrow.
Roll with it.
Yep. So please join us tomorrow night, 8:00 p.m., connecteduniverseportal.com. All right, let's get to our shout outs. First and foremost, need to thank Alina for moderating the chat. As always, thank you so much, Alina. And I have a comment here about our official last guest, Kimberly McGeorge. So Black Lotus Productions says Kimberly McGeorge is awesome. All right.
Cool. Looking forward to talking to her.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to her. So, all right. So thank you, Alina. Let's get to the participants tab. Where is so we have Betty Lange. Betty's part of the Connect Universe portal. Thank you very much, Betty. Black Lotus Productions, of course, like we just said. Haunted Road Media's Fairy Queen Diane Hilbert. Thank you as always. Mary Haygood, also a member of the Connect Universe portal. Good to see you. Robert Hanna, thank you as always. There's Stacy Comiskey. Thank you as well. Tammy Heitzman, as always, and Thayer. Good to see you down there. All right, now I get to scroll back through. This participants tab only gets about maybe 3 people. All right.
But they're 3 quality people.
Yes. Well, maybe a little more than 3, but Helen Espinoza, thank you very much as always. There's Billy Hunley. All right. It's good to see Billy in the house. Pungai Fungi. See, Pungai Fungi was in the chat all night and doesn't show up in the participants tab. That's one thing that I will be like, okay, I don't have to deal with that participants tab anymore.
I'm not saying anything about doing the dishes.
Pungai Fungi did say something about doing the dishes earlier.
Really?
Yeah. She did. Yep.
Disposable.
She sure did.
Just eat over the sink.
Paper plates, throw them away. Yeah.
Eat in the pan when you're cooking.
Jennifer Bloomer was in the house. Jill Nimchinsky. Great to see you down there, Jill. Andrew Cox. Andrew and his Trucking Gnomes. Always good to see Andrew down there. And see, is Adam Tillery lurking back there somewhere? Hinsdale girl. Michelle was in the house. Joe Chandler was here. Great to see Joe. Zippy Davis. Yes, that's right. Zippy was in here earlier. I hadn't seen Zippy in a long time. He made a comment that he had moved, which is, I guess, one of the reasons why he hasn't been around so much lately.
Oh.
But always good to see Zippy. All right. And scroll down here, see who else we might have. Any late comments here that we want to get to? I think that is going to be about it. All right, everybody. We will see several of you tomorrow night, connecteduniverseportal.com, and then the rest of you back here next week for Brendan Elvis. So, all right, that'll do it. Have a good one. Till next time, if time really exists.